Are you ready to yet again work up another headband tutorial with me? I feel like it's a bit of a joke at this point. Every couple of months I get the itch and I have to push up another headband tutorial. This one is fun though, okay? What we're gonna be working on today is I will show you how to crochet your own stripy headbands that have these diagonal lines that run through them. A classic design, a beautiful design. If you've seen any of my previous headband tutorials, especially my last one, the way that this starts and ends is basically the same. We start on a tie, we increase into the body of the headband and then decrease into the second tie. It's going to be the same in this case. So it's a simple project in that regard. However, there is a little bit of complexity with how we change colors and how we stagger them to create these diagonal lines. So I'm going to be focusing the tutorial on how you can do that. Because of the level of complexity, it's not the most beginner-friendly tutorial. I think if you're someone who has done a little bit of color work before, or you're a confident beginner/intermediate crochet person, this one might be an interesting tutorial for you to try. Outside of the color changes, the techniques are pretty simple. So you're going to be chaining, working in single crochet throughout, increasing and decreasing, weaving in your tail ends. That's it. So let's get into it. So let's talk about what we'll need. I'm going to be using some scrap yarn I've got lying around the house. This is a 4-ply acrylic yarn. The white yarn will be my A colour and this orangey red will be my B colour. I personally recommend cotton to make this headband for its durability, but I'd leave that up to you. I'm going to pair it with a 3mm crochet hook. For tools, have scissors and a darning needle to weave tail ends in once we complete our project. To get started on my first tie, with my A colour, I'll make a slip knot and work a foundation chain of 41. The last chain will be my turning chain. Now I'll work along my foundation chain in 40 single crochet stitches. You're welcome to work them in the top loop as standard. I prefer to turn my work to its underside and work my single crochet into the back bumps for a neater edge, but it's up to you. Don't be concerned about any curling of your tie at this stage, we can correct that later. I'm working in my last few back bumps. For my last bump, I'll pull through my last stitch and this is my tie completed. Let's move on to the next step without chaining one. I'll begin row 1 of the body of the headband by working an additional 2 single crochet in the last stitch of the tie. I'll work over my tail end here. And that leaves us with a total of 2 stitches for the row. For row 2, I'll work a single crochet in the first stitch and then increase in the second, meaning I'll work an additional stitch in the second and last stitch. So now I've got 3 stitches in the row and this will be the repeating pattern to increase into our headband. I'll show you again for row 3 and chain 1 to turn after each row. What you'll see is the tie will taper into the headband, so I'll work on ahead with this repeating pattern and meet you at the end of row 9, where we should have just increased to reach 10 stitches in the row. Now for rows 10 to 13, let's work a single crochet into every stitch for the next 4 rows. What you'll learn is this will also become a repeating pattern. Between the stripes made in our B color, there'll be 5 rows in our A color. So from here, I'll work ahead again and meet you towards the end of row 13. Okay, now we're well and truly into the body of the headband. For row 14, we're going to be introducing our B color. So let's start with 8 single crochet in my A color and then the last 2 stitches in my B color. If you're new to changing colors in crochet, it's done in the previous stitch on the last yarn over. So in my case, that'll be for the 8th stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop in my A color, then drop it, make a loop with my B color and use it to pull through all loops on my hook. You may need to gently tug on the ends of both colored yarn to make sure the tension's right. And now I can continue to work my last 2 stitches in the row with my B color, making sure I carry my A color beneath the stitches. Let's also consider this to be the right side of our work. I'm now facing the wrong side of my work for row 15, and we'll want to work 4 single crochet in my B color and 6 in my A color. Make sure to carry your B color for an additional 2 to 3 stitches after changing colors so that it'll be easier for you to pick up and work more seamless color changes in the following row. I'm facing the right side of my work again, and I'll now single crochet 4 in my A color and 6 in my B color. You'll see how carrying my B color a few extra stitches in the last row makes it easier for me to pick up the color in this row. Once I do change over to my B color, I'll carry my A color behind my work for an additional 3 stitches again. Wow, if I had $1 for every time I said color in the script. For row 17, I'm going to continue on with my B color takeover by working 8 single crochet in my B color and then 2 in my A color. In the last stitch, I'll yarn over with my B color because our next few rows will be entirely made up of it. For the next 5 rows, 18 to 22, I'm going to be working in just my B color, so I'll actually cut off my A, leaving about a 10 centimeter tail to weave in later. Let's continue on with a single crochet in every stitch, and I'll work ahead and meet you at the end of row 22. Here's an earlier test I made to show you how we're in the middle of completing this first stripe. For the remainder of row 22, I'll change to my A color to yarn over in the very last stitch. Another thing I'd point out regarding the color changes for this pattern is with my headband facing the right way up, they'll occur on the left hand side. So just something to be mindful of as you work along. For row 23, I'm going to be repeating much of what I did in the previous row with how I staggered my use of color to create the diagonal stripe. So to continue, I'll work 2 single crochet in my A color and 8 single crochet in my B color. Now for row 24, I'm going to work 6 single crochet in my B color and 4 single crochet in my A color. For row 25, I will single crochet 6 in my A color and then be sure to pick up my B color to work 4 single crochet with it. Okay, our stripe is almost completed. So for row 26, I'm going to single crochet 2 in my B color and then 8 in my A color. And then once I reach the end of this row, I'm going to cut off my B color, leaving again around a 10cm tail. Let's have a little break and see how we're progressing overall. We've now basically completed our first stripe. After each stripe, we work 5 rows in A color, and this will repeat over the 3 stripes in total. So I'll work those rows off camera and I'll catch up with you after row 32. At this point, I'm facing the right side of my work for row 33, and what you'll see is the pattern we used to create one stripe will repeat again. So every step starting from row 14, where we transition between two colors in increments of 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 5 whole rows in the B color, and then mirroring the same increments to change back to A color. We'll do this 3 more times to create 3 stripes in our headband, so go ahead and reference the pattern in the description for this portion of the video, and I'll work ahead to meet you at the start of row 69, where I'll show you how to decrease into the second tie. Welcome back. We are now up to row 69. I finished my last 5 rows in my A color, and I'm now ready to begin decreasing. To start, I'll single crochet in the following 8 stitches in my row. To decrease in single crochet, pull up a loop in the 9th stitch, and then pull up a loop in the 10th and last stitch. And now, with 3 loops on my hook, I'll yarn over and pull through all loops on my hook. This will leave us with 9 stitches in the row. Now, similar to how we increased to reach 10 stitches previously, I want to continue decreasing for 7 more rows to reach 2 stitches in the row, which I'll arrive at by row 76. I'm up to my last decrease, which will leave me with 2 stitches in the row. To start on the second tie, single crochet into the first stitch, and then chain 40. Now we'll do exactly the same as we did with our first tie. Work 40 single crochet back along the chain. You can work in the top loops as standard. I'm going to work in the back bumps again. And then to secure things, slip stitch into the last stitch in row 76 to finish. Now all that's left to do is to tie off and weave in the tail ends. To make sure the ends of my yarn are secure, I'll change directions at least 3 times as I'm weaving things in. If there's any excess yarn, you can snip it close to your work, and I've actually been saving a lot of these tail ends. Oh, I kind of told a lie. What you should legitimately do as a last step is to, of course, give your headbands a wash. I washed mine in slightly warm, soapy water. Leave it to dry. I've dried mine lying flat, and that should correct the curling in the ties, and they should just feel softer and nicer overall. And that's it. That's your stripy headband completed.